All right, so here we want to divide these using long division. So the first thing we want to do is determine the first term in our quotient, right? What number goes up here? Okay, in order to do so, we need to look at the first term in the dividend, which is x squared, and the first term in the divisor here, which is x. What we want to do is we just want to divide those together, right? How many times does x go into x squared in this case, right? Okay, so we're going to take the first term in the dividend, divided by the first term in the divisor. So you notice that in this case we get x, right? So that should be the first term in our quotient, right? Once we divide these. The next thing we want to do is multiply this first term here, the x times the divisor, right? So x times x gives us x squared, and x times -3 gives us -3x. Now when we normally divide here, right, the next step is to subtract. Okay, and then that's the key thing, right? Remember, we don't see a minus sign here. Okay, but whenever we divide using long division, okay, we always subtract these guys. But the issue here is that there's two terms, okay? So definitely you want to make sure that when we subtract, we don't just subtract the first term, we also subtract the second term, which means what? Okay, so if we subtract like this, right, we're actually subtracting both terms here. Okay? So I really don't like to do this though. Okay, so what I prefer to do is without putting the parentheses. Okay, so knowing that we have to subtract these, that basically means that the first sign should change from positive to negative, but also this sign should change from negative to positive. Okay, so I prefer to do that instead of putting the minus with the parentheses and doing that. Okay, by doing so, notice what happens, right? This x squared minus x squared cancels out. Okay, and then this -5x plus 2x gives us -2x here. Okay. Then we'll bring down the next term here, the -18, and then we'll just repeat this, right? What should go next here? So then we have to look at, once again, the first term, and what's remaining here, the -2x, divided by x, the first term here, and we get -2. Okay. So then -2 should be the next term in our quotient. And then we'll just multiply these again. -2 times x is -2x. -2 times -3 gives us +6. But once again, we have to subtract these, right? Remember, the subtraction is what I say is built into the function, right? We don't see the minus sign here, okay? So we sort of manually have to change it. So what does that mean? This negative should change to a positive. This positive here should change into a minus. So what is the result here once we subtract these together? Well, -2x plus 2x cancels out. You notice that should always happen, right? The first term here should always cancel out. And -18 minus 6 gives us -24. You notice there's no other terms to bring down, and there's no other step to do to divide these together. Okay? Now, how should we write the answer? Well, this is the quotient, right? The quotient is the answer, right? Once we divide these together, right? So we can write it like this if you want. So this is the original problem. But the answer is what? The answer is x minus 2. Right? The answer is x minus 2. But then what? What are we supposed to do? We're supposed to add the remainder, right? So we can add the remainder, which is -24, over the divisor, which in this case is x minus 3. Right? So this is how you want to give the answer. This is called the quotient. This is the remainder divided by the divisor.